Well, welcome to the Pulse stage for our last session of today, which is entitled Lights, Camera, Action, Supercharging Sustainable Media Production in Wales. And I have to say, this is the session I have been most looking forward to, so I hope you're looking forward to it too. So the way it's going to run, we have a fantastic panel here for you today. Each of them is going to come up to the lectern and give a short lightning talk. After they've all spoken, they're going to sit back down and we'll have a panel discussion, and then there'll be a couple of minutes at the end for questions and answers. So please think about your questions and answers. But first of all, before we get going, let me introduce our first speaker to the stage. From Media Cymru, it's producer Greg Mothersdale.
I gave myself my own whoop then. That was really nice. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. I am Greg Mothersdale. I'm a research and development producer for Media Cymru. It's an innovation programme. We are a driving force for sustainable and inclusive economic growth in the Welsh media sector. Our aim is to make Wales a global hub for media production and innovation, where research and development is embedded into a thriving media sector. And I'm using the word thriving because we need to thrive after lunch. Who's had a coffee yet? I need a coffee. Let's get the energy going, because I can still hear there's too much exercise and energy going on elsewhere. I want to feel it in the room with me right now. So please, give me a little round of applause. I want to get some energy in the room. Come on. This is just the beginning. It's not the end. Okay, so I'm not going to pitch anything today. I'm just going to tell you that I'm from a film and TV production background. I work for Cardiff University now. We enable innovation and R&D in the media sector to make it a better place here within Wales and beyond. We're lucky enough to meet some very interesting people and projects along the way, which we fund and enable. And these are the delightful people I have to talk about these projects today. I lead one of our pillars. We've got 4 pillars. They are fair, green, global, and growth. 4 fingers, 4 pillars. That's good. My main responsibility is to lead the green pillar, as well as joining up a lot of the other projects I'm across. And within that pillar, we have significantly supported several projects around green and media innovation. We've also won a report from BAFTA Albert, the BFI, the British Institute, Welsh Government, and who am I missing? Film Company Wales, to work on a plan to reduce our environmental impact in the media sector in Wales, which we're now trying to implement through projects such as these. I will talk about the projects and let them get on with it very shortly, don't worry. So first of all, we'll have it in an order of a kind of pre-production, production, and post-production setting. The first person to speak will be Danny from Rusty Design, who'll be talking about their very impressive sustainable printing process. We've got Fran from Protem, who will be providing a talk around a mobile power project. And we've also got Joanna from Fortium, who will be talking about their secure media seal product and all the other learnings they've taken with them on that. In the meantime, it'd be great to get a gauge of the kind of people we have in the audience. Are you mainly industry? Put your hands up if you're industry. Are you policy? Are you public? Are you support services? And we've got pretty much quite a nice mixture between the 4, so that's great to see you. Sorry if I missed you. What do you do? Your support services? All right, what a lovely mix. All right, well, welcome. I think I'm going to move on now and maybe stop the waffle, hopefully bring the hype, the fun and the engagement. There will be questions and answers after this. I'll start with a couple of questions, but I'd really appreciate it if you've got questions for our projects as well. Please do ask them at the end of these talks. So first of all, in the speaker order, please welcome Danny from Rusty Design.
Hello, yes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about us. So my name's Danny. I work for a small company called Rusty Design. At the moment, we're working on projects which is creating props for TV and film. But it's not really where we started. Where the company started was actually in surfboards and 3D printing of surfboards. But you might be thinking, surfboards, there's not a huge industry in that. And you're pretty much right. But what surfboards did bring is a massive engineering challenge. Massive engineering challenge in terms of trying to create a really strong composite, which is lightweight. And from doing that, and our learnings from that has now enabled us to put our technology across lots of other industries, and one of them being props for TV and film. So I'll talk a little bit about our process. I've got some pictures on the screen of some of the stuff that we've been working on. But essentially, the idea is that you can come to us with a concept. So you have an idea of what you want, whether it's a foreground object, highly detailed, or maybe something in the background, or a little bit of scenery, something like that you need that's 3D, okay? We'll then take that and we'll be like, okay, how do we design that? And we've got 3 routes for our design at the moment, okay? First one is see if it exists on the internet already. So there's loads of models of things on the internet which we can find and download yourself. The second one is in-house design. So this is quite a traditional method in terms of using CAD and getting people in-house to design it. And the third method, and the method that we're currently exploring the boundaries of, is using AI from either prompts or pictures to develop a concept into a 3D object, which we can then take and print. So that's the kind of summary of our design process. The main focus of our business is in the printing. So we build our printers in-house, and we also program them, and we have also started in terms of building our own slicing software. So slicing is kind of the language which will take a 3D model and it will tell the printer actually how to build that model. So it's kind of like the communication between the two. In terms of printing, so this is kind of where the sustainability comes into it, and why what we're doing is way better environmentally than what's currently on the market. Currently, if you want to make a so a couple of prop examples that I've got here, I've got a terracotta warrior, full-size terracotta warrior on the bottom, and at the top we've got the front half of a Formula One car, about 1988 age. If you wanted to do that, most of the time you're using polystyrene or other foams on the inside, and that's essentially what we're getting rid of, okay? We're replacing that, and we're doing that with 3D printing because it's additive. And what that means is, instead of getting a great big block of material and then carving away at it, creating loads of waste, we're just printing the material that we need, okay? So instead of subtracting away and creating loads of waste, we're just adding the material that we need. So 3D printing is an additive manufacturing technique. The other thing that's really beneficial about the way that we do it is that we're printing hollow. Okay, so rather than having a block of polystyrene, we're hollow printing, so that the inside, we've barely got any material in terms of what we're doing. So use less, essentially, is our main focus in terms of what is green about what we do. The next process, so after we've printed it, it'll be finished by a scenic artist. So at the moment we use guys from the industry which are very experienced, and they love what we're doing because they don't have to use so many bad materials. Obviously, they see the inside of things, they see the impact of what they're doing, and they're really, really happy to get on board with what the changes that we bring, and know that they're having a better impact on the environment. The afterlife is really where it gets quite interesting in terms of the material that we've used and what happens next. Usually in industry, a prop like that would go, after it's used for a shoot, would go in landfill. So you've got a big volume of things straight in landfill. First of all, I talked about it earlier, use less, waste less. Because ours is hollow, it can be crushed down to about 20% of volume, or maybe less, depending on what you're doing. So straight away, the amount that you're sending to landfill would be much, much less. The other areas that we're developing and we're much more interested in is finding a second life or a recycled life. So the first one, for degradation, the material that we print in, we can degrade that down, so we can turn that from a long chain to a short chain molecule, and that can be downcycled to something like a cleaning product that you might have in your kitchen. And then the other option, the third option, probably the best one for us, is recycling, and that's where it gets really interesting, because we're doing projects now at the moment where we're working with Innovate UK, and they're funding us to really investigate if we can reclaim this material, we can melt it back down, we can put it back into filament, and we can refeed our process. And so far, particularly for recycled in one process, one round, then the strength properties are really, really similar. So we're seeing a really good change from reclamation, if that's a word, reclaiming, it is a word, yeah, reclaiming and then reprinting. We're seeing really good properties going from one to the other, and that's really exciting in terms of what we want to do and where we want to end up. And that is about it. Happy?
Timed it, then.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Danny. That's a great start. I'm just going to hand over now to Fran to talk about the Protem project.
Hello everybody, I'm Frances Jenkins and I'm co-founder of Protem Lighting and Protem Power. Ben Jenkins over there with the yellow jumper on, he is the other founder. It's a privilege to speak to you all at Wales Tech Week about our Media Cymru, Film Cymru funded project to explore a renewable replacement for diesel generators in the screen industries. We're very proud that during the project we developed a proprietary circuit and filed a patent application. The problem that we are trying to solve is that film sets need a temporary uninterrupted power supply or UPS when filming on location, i.e. away from the studio. Running out of power is the top hassle for gaffers who are the heads of the lighting and electrical department. It causes them stress, a bit like the range anxiety experienced by EV drivers. So diesel generators have traditionally provided this UPS because they're just very reliable. However, we all know that burning fossil fuels is creating climate change. We are currently on course for 2.6 degrees Celsius warming, and that means that we can expect ice loss, leading to catastrophic sea level rises, extreme weather events, water scarcity, desertification, etc. So the fuel project by Film London revealed that 98% of productions use larger generators than needed. This is known as overspeccing. This is partly caused by the supply chain, which is dictated by the TV rental houses, but it's also due to a just-in-case mindset, whereby giant diesel generators are used, for example, on a daylight exterior scene where no big lights are needed, effectively just powering the T-urn and a few cameras and laptops. This is overkill, and it's a bit like using a flamethrower to light a candle or a volcano to toast a marshmallow. Diesel generators are also noisy, so they must be placed away from sets. They cause long cable runs. They are subject to increasing legislation in ULEZ and CAS zones, for example. They're only ever 30 to 40% efficient, and then they emit carbon monoxide, benzene, arsenic, formaldehyde. That's dangerous for crew. Diesel is also flammable, spillable, and needs to be contained on set in Bowsers. So where we come in is we have invented the Protem Pod Battery Mobile Power Unit, or MPU. They are unique because they contain hot swappable lithium iron phosphate battery packs and a separate inverter. Users can switch automatically between battery packs, meaning that one can be taken away for renewable charging without disrupting the shoot. This means that we can create a potentially infinite clean battery UPS, and that eliminates runtime anxiety. We interviewed top industry professionals to produce exactly what was needed on set. So these battery energy storage solutions, or BESS technologies, were introduced to sets around 2018, and by 2024 they accounted for 22% of on-set power supplies. We found, though, in our research that large skid set style batteries designed for construction are too big and heavy for film sets. They require cranes to move them. Our hyperportable modular system allows for tailored lighting positions that meet but do not exceed power requirements, leading to massive efficiency gains of over 90% and hugely reduced fuel costs. This is great for the planet and for the bottom line. The BBC, Netflix, Sky and Channel 4 increasingly require BAFTA Albert sustainability certification from production companies to show that they have measured and reduced their carbon footprint. Now, this is quite a significant administrative hassle, but we will solve this with our battery management system, or BMS. Our convenient mobile app will also allow for remote collaborative working. So we will combine our Protem pods with a battery pack EV delivery service, as you can see from that circular model there. and that will tackle scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions. Our innovation also has applications in other sectors, so live events, theatre, construction, catering, medicine, telecoms and maybe defence. So, our next steps. We've arranged to test the prototype on set prior to Christmas to achieve technology readiness level 5. We need to build our 40 kilowatt pilot mothership unit next. Media Cymru and the Alacrity Foundation are supporting our plans to crowdfund this pilot unit. Once this is done, we will seek SEIS investment. So a big thank you to Film Cymru and Media Cymru, PDR, Business Wales, Cardiff Capital Region and the Alacrity Foundation. Wales is a really exciting place to do these sustainable things. So thank you ever so much for listening, and please register your interest by following the QR code. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not having to do any timekeeping. You guys are doing brilliantly, so no pressure, Joanna. Yeah. So I'd like to welcome Joanna from Fortium to the stage.
So I'm very much the curveball in this lineup of great innovation for green technology. Fortium is a company that's based in Bridgend, has always been based in Bridgend and always operates out of Bridgend and nowhere else in the world. That is important when I go on to talk about the green credentials. We are known in the industry by, those are some of our clients, and we've worked with them for a very long time, for protecting their content, for stopping people from ripping their content. We tend to live within the post-production section of a production workflow, and typically, for those who don't know an average department or scope of like an animation, if you look at Disney, for instance, and their production of Wish, there was 38 departments just in production alone that went up to make that production happen. We tend to work in just one of them. And the reason we tend to work in one of them is because that's when the content is most valuable. It's nearly done. It's almost finished. It just needs things like subbing, dubbing, a little bit of tweaking. And that tends to happen all over the world. So they wrap it in our software, they send it to India for changes of dialect, changes of language, subtitling, and typically everybody knows what encryption is nowadays, but typically an encryption wrapper gets put on something, you send it from A to B, you give that person at B a password or a way of accessing that content, and once you've put that password in, it's unwrapped. It's done. You have no control over what happens to that file. It's completely in the clear. This is where we come in, and our product is different and why the studios love us. So we stop that encryption wrapper from being taken off, so you can actually open that file, you can view the content, you can play the file in Adobe if you want, or in Pro Tools, or whatever your chosen poison is for what you want to work with, but it's still encrypted. The person who's viewing that content, there's an audit log. The person who's viewing that content can't share it, they can't Zoom call anyone, they can't be screen captured, and they can just do the work that's needed, and there's a full audit trail. And that's historically what we've done. And you're wondering, where's the green credentials in this, I suppose? So we're working with Media Cymru and Innovate UK on a great project in order to democratise this form of security. So typically, it's the big companies that have the large tech departments who can benefit from this. It's the large organisations who have a tech department who can help onboard everybody, who can use the software and who can do things like that. So the project we're working on with Media Cymru is to provide a platform that takes all of our knowledge that we've amassed over the past couple of decades of working from Bridgend and working with these companies, and make it accessible to smaller organisations and not cost prohibitive. So we've removed usability barriers, it's far more self-serving, which in turn makes it greener. Our software was used during COVID to allow people to work outside of the studios. So historically, everyone was expected to come to lot, everybody was buzzed in, they were in a room, you worked in that room, you buzzed out, and that was it. Your content stayed within that room and you didn't have to move. During COVID, that stopped. So it was actually dubbed by the industry as the editor in the woods. So they didn't know what machine they were using, they didn't know where they were working, but they needed it to be secure so that that valuable content wasn't leaked. Move on now post-COVID, working habits have changed, and now the actual fear in the industry is the editor in Starbucks. So people leaving laptops open while they go to collect their favourite drink from their barista, and snapshots are taken. So this software will stop screen grabs, or a tracing system for screen grabs with forensic watermarking and all of that good stuff. But what that does enable is that anyone can work from their locality. They don't have to travel to a facility in order to do that function, which allows smaller businesses to promote themselves and to take up work for the larger studios. It also allows the studios to reduce their impact with transportation and making sure that everything is secure and everything is coming into the studio as and when is needed. But also, it enables us to reduce the overhead on the studio because there's only one form of storage. We don't store the content. We don't want to store the content. That is a headache that we do not want and an audit that we do not want to carry out. So they keep the content because we don't want it. We just look after the keys, and then they carry on their work from wherever people are in the world. So that really does level the playing field for people who want to work in this industry without them having to be on location. We're carrying on doing these innovations with support from Media Cymru, like I said, from Innovate UK, but also the studios, because they recognise the importance of this as well. There is a huge drive within the industry to reduce the impact, as we've said, but there's also a huge drive within the industry to protect outside of post-production, because now things are far more valuable in every department. So if you look back at the recent cyber attacks that have hit the news, they haven't been high-value assets per se. They've been nurseries, they've been fertility clinics, they've been things where people have kept data. So this type of software, which is enabled for anyone to use, an SME, could be used for prop design, because a prop is designed, there's a CAD design which is bespoke, it's their IP, they need to send it from A to B, or they just need to keep it in-house on their server, but it could be locked down and encrypted, so if they do get hacked, it's useless to the hacker. It could be battery management information, which could disrupt a whole shoot, which could disrupt a whole industry. And those are the type of conversations we're having with departments outside of post-production. We also get lots of calls from government and military, because everyone's a media company nowadays. Everyone produces media, everybody has video footage. There are things that need to be kept confidential, and business critical now means everything from access codes to lists of employees to legal contracts. So it really does touch end to end. And yeah, I suppose cybersecurity is boring, but it really does touch end to end for all of the departments within the media industry. And we're trying to protect it for you.
Thank you. That's an impressive array of speakers. I'm going to move to a handheld mic now and try and do that naturally. Testing. I sang then, didn't I? Can you hear me again? Okay, I've actually got some backup questions, but I think because you've given such good presentations, there may be questions from the audience first. I'm going to be crazy and see if anybody would like to ask a question. I've got three. This is amazing. You were first with the, just back there, that's right. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm actually working with Wales Tech Week, but I used to work at the BBC, and I know that there was certain departments that were worried about putting content online in any form in case it got leaked. But obviously with AI tools being, people are using those AI tools for production, can they use AI within your encrypted software and without it being then squirreled off somewhere else to train AI somewhere else?
Yeah, so all of the studios are using AI now. A lot of them have their own AI server, their own AI agent that they've developed themselves because they don't want to send it out. We try and be as tech agnostic as possible. So very simply, we don't care what the file is, we don't care where you've saved it, and we don't care how you send it. That's your business. You've got your own bespoke tech stack that you like to use that's good for you. We just enable that encryption to happen as seamlessly as possible. So what we try and do, if you had, say, an AI agent that was in your workflow, if that whatever you put in was encrypted and it was working within that area, or you could put it at the end where whatever came out was encrypted, it just means that only the right people could access that input or output at any given time. And a lot of it is encryption at rest as well, used in these facilities, so that it's just on a server, it's just what you're working on, the right people can access it. But if anyone gets in that shouldn't, they could take all of the files and they'd be worthless. So it just means that it doesn't interrupt and get in the way. So that we try and disappear as much as possible because nobody really likes security.
Thank you. I think we all need it, though, don't we?
In the topic of AI and AI being the buzzword at the moment, and everyone has their thoughts on where they stand with AI and its uses. My question to all of you is, do you use AI in your businesses? And if you do, what do you use it for? And if not, why?
Should we go with Danny first, just because you're on the end?
Yeah, we're building it into our process. So that's where it's really exciting in terms of our ability to go from concept to a physical object. It could speed that process right up. So imagine if you're working on a set, obviously you're under quite a lot of pressure, and you are able to come to a company and you're like, I want this really weird object. And then if we can generate that using AI, as a 3D object with open source softwares and things like that, and then we can slice it and we can print it, you could walk home with it in the same day. And that's like, in terms of acceleration, that could take weeks. If it's a complex object, it could take weeks and weeks to design on CAD. So in terms of really accelerating the speed of turnover of what we're doing, or how fast we can do it, yeah, we use it loads, yeah.
We do use it. We use it for normal day-to-day operational things, summarising minutes, all of the usual good stuff that everybody uses it for now. But we have started to use it a little bit more in the design of the new products in order to make sure that we are running it through personas a lot quicker, so it speeds up the development. I think there's a place for it in every place of work, but it does need that human element to check it, because rubbish in, rubbish out. And it does get itself in a knot, especially with code. But yeah, we use it to try and streamline and summarize quickly so that the humans have more time to do the added value things rather than relying on it solely. And building it into workflows because we know our clients are using it as well.
So as part of our research project, we interviewed 16 industry professionals in the sustainability sector. Basically, we used the AI to analyse everything that happened in those interviews and come up with the salient themes, something that would have taken months if we didn't have it. But also, we are new to product development, and we used it for coming up with contract manufacturing strategies, for example. So we've used it, and then you use it, like you said, for day-to-day administrative tasks. I think it's fantastic. It's allowing us to do the work of like 10 people from like 10 years ago. I love it.
And I'm the slow adopter on this. So I genuinely, I know I've used it for years without even knowing but there are impacts we're not all aware of, and some are that I think people are taking the right steps towards addressing. But as with any innovation, there's always some negative aspects which we have got to be wary of, and there is significant power consumption, especially with generative AI and the use of water. But these things are being said, and the more these things are being said, the more they're going to be addressed as well. So underlying it, the benefits are unbelievable and undeniable, but there are going to have to be methods and responsible ways of using it that we all need to bear in mind. And I haven't got the answer to all that yet, but I'm just mindful that we keep that in the conversation as well. It's brilliant, but it also needs to be handled in the right way. That's my quick answer. I'm not even meant to be on the panel. Sorry. Yeah. Just down here.
Yeah. Hi. A question for all of you is with technologies keep on changing each time, what do you expect it to affect in the entertainment and media industry? Well, for me, I'm a novelist, and I'm trying to create a novel that will hopefully be adapted for TV, maybe commissioning all of you. So what do you think technology 5 years later will impact on the filming industry?
Would anyone like to go? Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of lighting and electrical, I think that in 10 years' time, there won't be any diesel generators on set. I don't think people will be using HVO either, because HVO is very expensive. It also still burns and releases carbon, you know. So that the electrification is happening across the globe in many different ways. So I really do think that there's going to be a revolution in power in the TV industry in the next 5 years.
I think that's a really good question. And I think you have to remember what is good that's already in place. And from a security point of view, I can give you an example that the majority of leaks for films come from streaming functions because you can't protect a stream very easily. Widevine, I won't get into the technical reasons. However, the film industry need to keep those streams to a minimum. And nowadays, what's happening is when you have screener seasons and you're putting films out for awards and things, you need to send these films out to panels, and you're giving your highly priced content that's in the cinemas now and grossing, and you're giving somebody a 4K copy of a film in order to grade it for hopefully winning a BAFTA or an Oscar, and you're hoping that they're going to look after it and not allow family members to use it or leave it on a train or whatever. And what we've seen, because we protect disc as well, back in the day, that's how we started, we protect DVD and Blu-ray, that we've been waiting for it to stop, because who uses Blu-rays and DVDs nowadays? Who has them? But actually this year, there's been an increase in demand for protection of CDs, DVDs and Blu-rays, again, because they know that they can print a film onto a disc and it can be protected and it can't be ripped. So they're starting to go back to old methods. So what I would say is, if it's good and if it's used widely, don't expect technology to overtake it that will be necessarily brilliant at first, and that it was usually a slow adoption. And sometimes the old methods are the best at the minute. And I think technology is fantastic because that's the game we're in, but I think there's been some fantastic technological developments in the past that still very much have a place until tech can catch up.
From our point of view, I think if you want to see what's going to happen technologically advancements in the space, is follow us on Instagram, because what we're doing, I know as a joke, but what we're doing is forefrontal stuff. The way we print is first in the world. We're literally pushing boundaries, and we're waiting for AI to catch up. So the way it's been designed is we're aware of what's going on in AI, and we're aware of how we might use it if it gets good enough. So we're literally in that space. We've got the technology which is there. We're designing everything around it, and we're waiting for AI to catch up to us. So if you want to see what's coming up next, follow us on Instagram, Rusty Design.
Oh, another one over here.
Yeah, hi. That leads me on to the question I wanted to ask you, and that is, if you are reimagining or your products or services, you take yourself back to the early part of your business life cycle, and that is that you are taking on some risk. So with terms of technical and commercial viability of what you're talking about, what support are you getting to manage and adopt that risk at the early stage of your development? It's fraught with difficulty for businesses in the early stage. As you move towards proof of concept and having a minimum viable product and ultimately commercialization, the confidence builds. But you are going right back to those risky parts. How are you being helped with that?
Thank you. Was that to you, Danny? Everybody? Who'd like to go?
Well, we're only able to talk about what we've done on stage because we filed a patent application on the 3rd of November, and that was enabled by basically Wyn Jones IP solicitors helped us out with that. If we hadn't, otherwise we would have just had to keep everything embargoed. I think the main issue that we have, though, is the cost of patenting around the world is something like £82,000, you know, so we're a small company. So we are developing a strategy, an IP strategy to keep that all safe. And yeah, that's been, we've had help from Business Wales, we've had help from the Alacrity Foundation, obviously Media Cymru and Film Cymru have funded us. But for us, in terms of the business, what we need now is more funding to be able to protect our IP further.
For us, it's a little bit different because we're an established company and we have clients. The trade-off was, how do we not have the expense of rapidly increasing our team in order to do this new innovative bit, but keep the lights on and maintain our existing clients and the level of service that they expect. And the SLAs are epic, some of them. So that has helped because we've managed to take on a few more heads with the help of the grant through Media Cymru and Innovate UK. We've had lots of support from the Welsh Government in so much as being able to get to other markets and get to other locations on visits and things for trade missions. And that was fantastic, and that's more of like to do with the intel from the industry. How are other people working? How are other people interacting with each other? So that we can feed that into the product design so it's more fit for purpose when it hits the market. So yeah, it is a struggle, and you know, it is always difficult as well when you're trying to push that boundary and you're trying to make a massive change, is to get that investment and that proof of concept out there, because it's chicken and egg, isn't it? It's difficult.
Yeah, for us, a lot of it has come from the connections that we've had through the grants and the stuff that we've built through that. That money is really enabled us to basically survive research. We do have a patent on our technology. I think it's different as well when you get different grants. If they're paid up front, that's really good, and it's great for us because we can just get stuck in. We can make really good progress. We had a big difficulty one recently because it was paid in arrears, and that means we had to find that money up front, and that was very difficult. And you are from Business Wales, and the offer that we got from Business Wales, it would have killed us. It was dreadful because I assume you saw us as too risky. But the stuff that we're doing, we want in Wales. We want the stuff that we're doing, our technology, our kind of stuff, the innovative things are risky. But that's the payoff we've got to get. So support is hard. Support is very hard for small businesses. It's really difficult. Upfront grants is the best. In arrears, if you're able to stump up that cash at the beginning, then great. But yeah, loans were very difficult. So it's been a struggle. But now we're in a good place. So that's exciting.
So I was just wondering, there's been a lot of activity investment in making media production more sustainable in Wales. Are we starting to see a mindset shift? And if so, is it mainly in Wales and the other areas where there's a lot of investment, like I think there's quite a lot in Canada? Or are we starting to see that globally across the industry?
I can do a quick answer on that from a rounder perspective on this. I think we've got a good name for it in Wales because we've done some. So we've we've had some significant activity in this area, but actually being able to measure it, create a baseline and really show improvement is still an ongoing concern. But there are some brilliant examples of sustainable products, services and processes and experiences which have been developed here, which is fantastic. And there are really good examples around the world, sometimes in nations that you really wouldn't agree with as well. I do think the discussion around green and sustainability is a little bit marmite at the moment, if I'm being honest. It's quite a good practice to be in Technology Week and work out how you fit both conversations together. But at the moment, it's good that they're both in the same place, which is the priority of this panel. So I'd say that we're doing well in Wales. I'm sure other people are doing it better, but I haven't heard about them yet. So we just need to talk more about it and shout about it a bit more. I'm just going to hand over to the panelists to give you better examples.
Hello. So as part of our research, we did a survey and we found that there's a massive change in culture in the lighting and electrical departments. So it's something like 96% of respondents strongly agreed that decarbonisation needs to happen in the TV industry related to power. I think that it is going to change here because, the problem of over-speccing diesel generators, it's so wasteful that it should be illegal. And I think that it will be illegal in the near-term future, especially in Europe. I just went to the IBC conference in Amsterdam, and the attitude towards sustainability in the film industry is they're really for it in Europe, whereas they're not in America. So obviously America is going down the Trump route at the moment, so I won't talk about that. But I think in terms of our industry in Wales, we are doing really, really exciting things. So.
Yeah. Okay. From our point of view, I think what we see in industry is essentially people want to be greener, but the pressures of production mean that they're making decisions which aren't. I mean, at the moment, I think there was some statistics that came out that said something like 90% of production stuff goes straight to landfill, which is huge. That's a massive number. I think, to be honest, the reason why we're hearing a little bit more about it and the focus is more about it in this area is because of there's more bodies being set up which is now checking what people are doing. So BAFTA Albert, I think, was mentioned by one of these, and that's starting to push people to align. What's the next step for that is it needs to be enforced. It needs, if a company has a decision at the end of the day, if they're under pressure or they're short on money, they're just going to take the easy option. It has to be enforced that you can't put this much to waste, or your carbon footprint has to be this size or lower. And if not, then there's got to be big fines or something like that that can push them in that direction. So that's what we're starting to see, and that's why a lot of companies are starting to go that way. I do believe in Wales that there's more of that thought process. People are ahead here than maybe in some other areas, but essentially it's going to have to come from government to keep pushing us in that direction.
I do know from being lucky enough to go to LOT and see in America and see the studios in action, that it might not be shouted out as much because of the political landscape, but it is very much present. And there is lots of signage and lots of push. And there is also lots of questionnaires and vendor hoops that you have to jump through. So it is coming up in conversation a lot more. Not as much as it should be, probably, but it's starting to go that way. And also these organisations are global. So they need to adopt global principles and global policies because they can't have different ones for different countries. So I think they're trying to do a global approach, which hopefully will drag America along, kicking and screaming.
Thank you very much. I heard about a very good example in America where they are doing amazing green stuff. We're just not hearing about it at the moment. So, but here's to more of that green activity and green conversation. Before I say thank you to everybody, just so you're all aware, in case you're interested, more around technology than green, there's a Media Cymru fund open at the moment, a challenge fund with Cult VR in Cardiff, the amazing immersive dome, and all sorts of technological capabilities that you can apply to take some R&D projects forward in the next few months. So the fund is going live on the 1st. There's an event on the 8th of December. So if you'd like to go to that, please do put it in your diaries and look online. And in the meantime, Diolch yn fawr to our brilliant panel. It's quite an interesting area, this technology and green in Wales, and I found that discussion really insightful. Thank you very much for being part of it, and thank you very much to the audience for providing so many questions, and I didn't need to speak as much as I did. So much appreciated to you all, and thanks to Wales Tech Week.
Yeah, thank you all so much. I mean, I found that really interesting. I think you must have as well, given all the questions. So thank you again to our panel. Just quickly for me to say that's the end of our formal panel discussions today. However, the exhibition is open until 7 o'clock, and that includes the bar behind you if anyone wants a drink. And a little note about what's happening tomorrow. So things are ever so slightly different. Tomorrow is Talent for Tech, which is Wales's tech career event happening here, brought to you by Technology Connected and its partners. So we hope to see some of you for that tomorrow. But thank you for today. And once again, thank you to our panel.